will be sitting down with some senior developers and breaking down some of the most popular technical tasks out there for evaluating job seekers. These tech tasks will be scored by a number of factors: the costing for the company, the effectiveness in rating a candidate's capability, the task's fakeability, its relevance, and its popularity. This will be a really interesting series which should give a range of perspectives on the current methods of hiring within the tech industry.
In today's episode, we're taking a closer look at on-site tech tasks. In-person assessments where candidates are invited to tackle challenges at the company's location. On-site tasks are designed to test a candidate's skills in a realistic environment, often combining multiple assessments. They offer a unique chance for both sides to see how a candidate fits into the work culture and how they handle real-time problem solving under observation. In this video, our expert panel will rate on-site tasks out of 10 for each aspect. Let's see if on-site tasks are worth the in-person effort or if they are simply add pressure.
The costing can be quite low. It's more just the time up front to create the test. Sometimes if it's recorded, it can be watching the test back. Again, if you've got permission to do that. So the time is the cost really, not the money. So I'd say that's a 7 out of 10.
I would say this is quite high because you're giving up time on site for someone to do some kind of tech task. So the costing is actually quite high because you're using premises, you're using everyone's time in that regard. So I'm going to go with an 8.
If the questions are copied off the internet, the answers will be. So you've wasted pretty much everybody's time. And if they're written in-house, you're going to have to use somebody to sit there and mark it. And either way, how long are you tying a meeting room up for? Do you want to rent a meeting room for an hour for somebody to just sit there and answer a bunch of generic questions that somebody's downloaded from the internet? It's probably about a 4.
Yeah, effectiveness of time tests, I would say, can be really, really useful. How do people tackle the problem? How fast did they do it? Did they complete the full test? This is all useful things to know. So I'd give that 8 out of 10.
Sadly, this kind of testing, I don't think is relevant. I think we're asked to do too much work with not enough time. So if you're trying to simulate that and to see how someone is trying to respond under pressure, maybe there's some value in that. But it shouldn't be down to the individual. It should be down to a team at that level. Therefore, I can't say it's particularly effective. So I'm going to have to go with a 2.
I've had one of these where you sit down, they get given a project to do, and it's like, the computer isn't set up how I use it. You've got none of the tools that I use. I don't have access to any of the sort of OneNote bits of code that I can steal. And for the next hour, I'm going to just rock you bunches of random questions. I don't know. It's how does that give you an accurate representation of what somebody does, how they work, how would they work with you, what somebody's capabilities. I had one test where it was a Visual Studio and it was on a Macintosh and I had to edit the hex codes for CSS. Where is the hash key on a Macintosh? I have no idea. And I'm sitting there and I can't copy and paste because I've never used a Macintosh in my life. And they went, you didn't do very well on that test. I was like, I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to put a hash mark because or copy and paste. There was just no way of doing it. 4, I think.
I think if it was an on-site test and there's some supervision, it's going to be difficult to fake, particularly if you're on-site, you're there in person. There are also ways around. If people smuggle their phone in or do some other means, how worthwhile is that if you want to be good at the job anyway? But I think fakeability is fairly tricky with that. So I'd say 8 out of 10.
With regards to tech tasks, etc., I would say people will just look for common things online. What have other people done? What have we done in the past? There's always a temptation to reuse something. So therefore, there's also the ability to find that thing online. So therefore, I'm going to go in the middle. I'll say a 5.
It's fairly easy because mobile phones exist. Unless you are going to sit and watch somebody not use it, which in itself is unnatural. You know what I mean? It's like you are going to look things up. I can't remember. You go and look it up. That's how, that's why we invented writing. We don't need to remember everything. About 3.
think time tests can be useful. I think when people hear timed, they think of exam. They think there's maybe pressure involved, may get anxious. Sometimes it doesn't give the full picture, in my opinion. Some people might just get anxious before they even sit there, or feel every second counts. They need to rush through it. We're in a real life job. You may go on Google, you'll ask colleagues, you'll do the actual coding yourself. So there's a lot of factors involved. I'd maybe give this a 6 out of 10.
I don't think that this kind of task can be particularly relevant to the real world experience. I'll go with a 4.
It's just a bunch of isolated things. How do they link it together? How do they fit into the team? How do they approach analysing the situation? None of those things are actually covered. It's just, here's a question, what is the answer? About a 3.
I think popularity of the time test, again, it's kind of medium, maybe slightly low for the people I've asked. Again, a lot of people feel it can be like an exam condition, pressures on. They might feel a lot more stressed than talking through a case study with other people, bouncing ideas. So I found that's maybe around a 5 out of 10.
Certainly, I've seen this kind of testing of candidates, and I've had to use it myself. So still, that doesn't happen that often, though. So I think I'm going to go with a 4.
It's unrealistic, and the questions are so, I'm a C# developer. Here are some C#. Oh, it's a Java question. Why have you given me a Java question? Well, just to see how you do with it. But hey, they don't take long. The questions are a lot of the time are very predictable. It's probably about a 4.